If you're holding a jar, how smart do you have to be to open it? And if you died, would it ever open? You see, an octopus can open jars, a sign of remarkable intelligence for a mollusk. So if something is smart because it can open a jar, does it mean that if something can't open a jar, that it's dumb? Well, we know dolphins are smart. They communicate with sounds, just like us. They can identify themselves in the mirror, just like we can. And yet, they can't even open a jar. But Julian, you say, that's just a skill issue. We all know that if dolphins had hands, that they'd be able to open jars, but they don't. And by contrast, the octopus is basically one weird, giant, distributed intelligence, 8-fingered ant. Of course it could open the jar, or turn a shell into a hat. That's just what it's made to do. Touch and manipulate the world around it. So, maybe the octopus's trick is just that. A trick. A reflection of its natural inclination to touch and move things around. Like a dog who jumps on the door and eventually manages to unlatch it. It's just luck. A trick disguised as intelligence. But a dolphin, who could learn commands, help us hunt, give each other names, they earned their intelligence with their minds, not with their bodies. So, that's it, right? The more similar you are to a person, the more intelligent you are if you're an animal. And that's why, after people, chimpanzees are the most intelligent animal. Because they're like us, and we're smart. Case closed. But wait a minute, it's not that simple. Chimps can use tools and form alliances, but they can't build bridges, they can't farm, they can't build complex societies with nurseries and tunnels and waste management systems. They can't domesticate other species. These are all the things that make us uniquely human. Well, us and ants. Ants farm aphids. They take care of them, bring them inside during the winter, and bring them back outside during the spring. Those leafcutter ants that we see stripping trees down and making those cute little army rows, they don't cut leaves to eat them. They cut leaves to farm a fungus that they then eat. And it's not your run-of-the-mill moldy bread kind of fungus. This fungus requires very precise conditions. So what the ants do is they build them complex underground farms, complete with ventilation systems, intake systems, and they even move the whole farm up and down depending on the season. So what's more human? Opening jars or building a civilization? What's more intelligent? Because just a second ago, we were ready to hand the trophy to chimpanzees and dolphins, and now we're just looking at an ant. An ant which, alone, just kind of looks like a scared little Roomba. I wonder what an alien looking down on our city would see. Would they just see a bunch of panicked little Roombas? Or would they see us as individuals? If they look down on our world, would they see me for who I am, or our skyscrapers, our roads, our tunnels? I'm not gonna lie, I don't love this feeling. What are we, just ants? Okay, so maybe our intelligence isn't that of the dolphin, but closer to that of an ant. Some sort of a network intelligence. That's certainly what the aliens would think, at least. But if that's true, when did it start? And what would have happened if we didn't have this kind of network intelligence? Around 40,000 years ago, modern humans shared the Earth with another kind of intelligent human species, Neanderthals. And you take a Neanderthal, pin him against a human, and the Neanderthal would win every time. Smash us to bits. But why are they gone and we're still here? Genetic evidence suggests that Neanderthals lived in relatively isolated groups, made up of maybe a dozen or so individuals. Small tribes without much contact between them. Humans, meanwhile, formed networks between our tribes. So when one tribe discovered a better kind of spear, another tribe would copy it. One group discovers a migration route, and we also have to follow that route. God forbid we got into a fight with Neanderthals. I mean, It's you and your little family versus me and every guy I've ever traded with. I mean, good luck. So maybe that's the answer. The network. Maybe our intelligence isn't in the individual, but the connections between individuals. But there's a problem here. You see, networks can appear more intelligent than they really are. Researchers placed little bits of food around the map of Tokyo, with the food corresponding to major cities, and then they introduced a slime mold. Now, this slime mold, without any planning, without even a nervous system, it recreated the Tokyo rail almost exactly as it appears. So what is that? Is that intelligence? Is it luck? A trick? Maybe what we're doing is we're confusing problem solving with thoughts. I mean, do you need thoughts to be intelligent? Sure, this slime mold solved a problem. It created structure. But it did it without thinking. The slime mold isn't thinking. It just continues, mindlessly optimizing, moment to moment. And it's not using consciousness to solve problems all the time like we do. Right? How often are you thinking about what's going on right in front of you? Even when you're navigating, like taking the train or driving home from work, we're not exactly using our supercomputers most of the day. And depending on how we define the terms thought and unconscious and conscious, scientists estimate that between 45 to 95% of our time is spent unaware of what we're doing. Just basically slime molding our way across the world. So what exactly separates you from the slime mold? Slime mold can't teach its children the map of Tokyo. It has no yesterday, no tomorrow, no memory of what worked, what didn't. Instead, every time it's introduced, it just starts over. It optimizes. It doesn't accumulate. And that's how we won the intelligence game. Because the human network doesn't just move knowledge sideways, from tribe to tribe, person to person. It moves knowledge forward, through time, and stacks. Because if intelligence only lived inside the individual, every time someone died, the intelligence would be erased. But it doesn't. Look at the common law system. A judge sitting in her seat isn't some renegade free thinker just kind of winging it. She builds on the accumulated judgments of every time this problem has come up in history. Centuries of human experience. And I wouldn't call that a network. It's a mind that's hundreds, thousands even, of years old. You consume knowledge you'll never use. We all do. And no other animal does that. Ants figured out distributed intelligence millions of years before us. But they store that knowledge in their genetic code. The whole process runs on a biological clock, which is slow. Humans, on the other hand, took that same principle and externalized it. We took the accumulated intelligence of our species out of our bodies and put it into symbols, into language, into books, and into machines. Machines that can process every book ever written before I even complete this sentence. So it's not that humans are the most intelligent animal. We just kind of rigged the game in our favor. Because think about what every animal does. They face the world for the first time, learn maybe something from their parents, and die. But us, the best ideas of every human who's ever lived have been refined, compressed over the years, accumulated, and handed to you to learn from before you're even old enough to want it. And how could any single mind, any single network, born fresh into the world, compete with that? But this is where it kind of gets a little uncomfortable. Knowledge transfers. Math transfers really well. E equals mc squared. Put that in the hieroglyph. Whatever. Write it down. It survives perfectly for 1,000 years. But wisdom doesn't work like that. You've been told things. I mean, think about when you were a teenager. You were told things that weren't true until they happened to you. Somebody warned you and you understood the words, but only after it happened to you did you go, oh, that's what they meant. Wisdom can only live in story, because story is the closest thing we have to experience, but it's not experience. You can read every book written about grief, and not understand what it means until you experience it firsthand. Only then do you understand what the words were all pointing at. That part, we have to learn for ourselves. So here's the position we find ourselves in. We've built something close to immortal knowledge. We've accumulated enough information to split the atom and build thinking machines out of sand and math. And we hand it all over to people experiencing life for the first time. But it's not just us. Every generation inherited the better spear, the better bomb. Weapons their wisdom wasn't ready for. And every generation makes ancient mistakes with more powerful tools than the last. But we haven't killed us yet.